K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hello and welcome to Tuesday Night Mania. Ooh, we got a champion in the house. His name is Will. How you doing, bud?
Doing great, man. I just happen to have this laying here on the table. This is a toy from like '98.
Yep.
Super cool. A lot of us had these as kids. I still have one in the office.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
All right, and joining us, first off, Ace will not be with us. He's got a family thing going on tonight, so I'll be hosting. My name's Big B. We've already heard from Will, Mr. Collectible down there. Next to me is Crispy Bacon. How you doing, bud?
Doing good. How's everybody tonight?
Doing good. And kitty corner for me, and underneath Crispy Bacon is our man Joe. Joe, how you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good, guys. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. And just let you know, we are having a little internet issue, so if we cut in and out, just bear with us. So, with that being said, guys, first topic of business here is AEW. Joe, what happened in AEW this past week?
Not a whole lot, man. It was boring. Very disappointed. The CM Punk. Oh my God, my Hogan just fell on the ground. He took a bump. Holy cow. Jeez.
Well, he'll be out 3 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, see, man. That's one there, man. You got to get that from TRC, dude. That's that new Hogan. Anyways, the whole build-up of the MJF CM Punk match, I was very disappointed in that. Match itself was nowhere near good. I don't think those guys have chemistry at all, and just AEW just dropped the ball on that whole entire program. So other than that, not a whole lot to talk about with them. They're moving forward. They got a pretty big card this week, supposedly some surprise appearances that we're all guessing about, and other than that, it was a pretty dull moment for AEW this week.
Okay. Speaking of surprises, Will, who do you think the big announcement's going to be, or what the big announcement's going to be? What do you think?
I think it's going to be another letdown, honestly. It don't really matter who it is. They don't seem to know what to do with them. You know, years back, there was a comment made that Kevin Nash made. He said, you know what the problem is over in WCW? They just don't have Vince McMahon. And if you look at AEW, it's almost like redundant. You know, they got all this talent. These guys could be ruling the whole world of wrestling and really putting everybody else to shame. Does it really matter? I mean, it could be Bray Wyatt at this point. Would it really matter? I mean, think about it. Like, what would they do with him? They would put him against MJF. Let me further elaborate on that real quick. And I'm not trying to rant, but further elaborate. Just because you're a heel in the ring, it doesn't make you a great heel because you never come out of character. That whole shtick is a bunch of crap, and it's not getting over. And here's the thing. As a wrestler, even as a heel, you got to sell merchandise, you got to sell shirts, you got to sell toys, you got to sell all that stuff. And when you're constantly an asshole to everybody around you and no one likes you, you're not going to sell that stuff. And eventually your value, your stock is going to start to go down. So that's just my thoughts. You know, it could be Bray. I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I see Bray going into Impact for a little while and making a splash there. I mean, it could totally be, you know, the whole thing was the forbidden door will be open, you know. Does it really matter? That's my thoughts. Sorry, guys.
No, that could change. Chris, what do you think? Who do you think the surprise could be?
I keep going back to Bray Wyatt. I don't know. He seems like the name that keeps floating around, but you know, like Will said, you have to not only sell yourself in the ring, you know, make your character believable, but you have to sell the merchandise, and you know, some of the the talent can do that and some can't, and maybe that's why they don't go over as well.
You know how hard it is, Big B, to sell an MJF autograph?
Oh, I bet.
It's awful. Because nobody likes him. It doesn't matter how much of a good heel he is. Nobody likes the guy. and that's a shame. And that's all driven by the writers. They need to change that up. Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing is he's doing his job. He's being on.
He is.
I mean,
He is.
Granted, you're not going to sell stuff that way, but
he is. But think about all the great heels of all time. The really, really bad guys in wrestling. And when they were outside of the ring and they were with their fans, they were much different people. Yeah. And that's the problem is people legitimately hate the guy because he doesn't change from his character. So
I did hear though back in the day when Luger was a heel, he was a heel outside the ring though too. I mean, unless he was with his group of people, but
he's
that's
a great,
what I've heard.
And he's a great guy, and I've met him a lot in person. I've talked to him a lot in person, but he was also a severe drug addict. Yeah. So he was probably on his way to his next fix.
Yeah. So no, for me, Joe, are you with us, or I know you cut out there a little bit? You with us now? Okay, he must not hear us. We see him, but anyways, for me, I think it's gonna be Hardy. I hope it's not. I hope they go. You know, I kind of think it's gonna be Shane. That's who I kind of want it to be. Kind of really get the ratings going, but you know, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm kind of intrigued. So I know they got my viewership tomorrow.
It can't be a released talent because then that's not really touching the forbidden door. That's just them picking up another released talent.
But I mean, realistically, with Shane though, I mean that kind of still has the forbidden door because of who he is.
But with the forbidden door, they're also working with one promotion actively right now.
Yeah, I guess however you look at the forbidden door, but I think Shane being Vince's son is the forbidden door too. I mean, who would ever thought? I guess we'll see who it is tomorrow. I mean,
could he run the promotion? Because I've heard people say that he should run his own promotion.
I don't know. After what the Royal Rumble all came out, I don't know if he can book a whole show and stuff. So, Joe, what about you? What do you think? Who do you think the surprise is going to be?
Triple H.
That would be another one. That would be a huge. That would be huge.
No,
I know you're kidding.
honestly,
I know
guys,
you're kidding.
I don't know. My internet keeps going out. Sorry, guys, but I really don't know. I think I'm like Will. I think whoever it is going to be a disappointment.
Yeah, it could be. I mean,
look at
CM Punk. I mean,
what if it's Charlotte Flair because they need to get more women for their women division, so she goes over there and picks a fight?
Wow, I honestly didn't even think of that side. Well, that's great.
Pick somebody from AEW to come over to
WWE. You mean? Yeah,
just like they did with Mickie James.
Wow, wow, that would be huge.
Because I mean, they were trying to get Ric Flair, so I mean.
But that's how the four of us right here would book it. But AEW will probably have like the Brooklyn Brawler go over there.
Brooklyn Brawler. No, I mean, if it was me booking, I mean, I definitely would go after Shane because I think that would just drive ratings high. But if we're talking a person under contract, Flair, yeah, that would be huge.
Forbidden Door is all about people that are already under contract. So,
but I mean, I can't wait to see.
Triple H would. He's still with NXT supposedly, even though he's not.
No, he's relieved of his duties. Triple H, I don't know, but being married to Stephanie, that's why Triple H and Shane would make a good Forbidden Door thing because their ties with Shane, or with Vince, but. Well, you throw a great one there with Charlotte.
He's still the chief financial officer of WWE. Also.
Yeah.
So that would still be.
I know there was talk that it was the big guy or one of the big names in New Japan Wrestling. I don't follow them that well. I guess we'll just wait and see.
Jay White.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see what happens there. So I don't know. So moving on, the history moment, Elimination Chamber, number 1. Well, you want to talk about that a little bit?
I do. So back in 2002, Shawn Michaels comes back out of retirement after nearly 4 years, or a little over 4 years of being gone. They thought his career was over. Comes back. They work up a big feud with him and Triple H on what they assume will be a one-time match with Shawn coming out of retirement. And Shawn comes back SummerSlam. Him and Triple H have one of the best matches anybody could ever see. If you haven't seen it, SummerSlam 2002, Shawn versus Triple H, no holds barred. Incredible match. So Shawn comes back, he wins. They continue the feud going forward. They get to Survivor Series, and they want to do something different in 2002, and Eric Bischoff is there, comes up with the idea of the Elimination Chamber. It's the first one ever. A lot of talent in there. I won't go extremely deep into it, but I can tell you, go watch this match, Survivor Series 2002. Incredible, incredible match. Comes down to Shawn Michaels and Hunter for the World Heavyweight Championship. There's 6 men total in this matchup. 4 other stars that are in it. They're also top superstars as well. They all put on a tremendous performance. As soon as the match was over, and for the next several years, they all complained about how bad it hurt because they literally got thrown over the top ropes on the steel grates. They got thrown into chains. They got pushed through plexiglass doors for the chambers. I mean, it was a brutal match, especially in the very beginning. It was a brutal match, and but it was really good, and they really pulled it off very, very well. And I would highly recommend it. In the end, Shawn Michaels becomes victorious. He wins the World Heavyweight Championship, which is the big gold belt for the first and only time in his career. He would only hold that title for a month because he would drop it back to Triple H in December at Armageddon. But the overall match was incredible. The overall feeling of Shawn as return, Shawn as a champion, all that stuff. When, first of all, you never expected to see him back again. And then second of all, you definitely never expected him to come back and win a championship. So huge, great match. Became a great thing. I mean, there's a lot of great Elimination Chamber matches. I'm not sure if there was ever a bad one. I mean, they were all pretty decent. So highly recommended. Go check it out. What were your thoughts on that Elimination Chamber, guys?
I'm just looking over the card right now, and I mean, yeah, that match, the Elimination Chamber, to me was unheard of. I mean, when they first revealed it, I mean, it was just like, oh my god, look at that. We all were amazed back in the day when they brought in Hell in the Cell, and then WCW did the Triple Cage. Well, yeah, when they brought in Elimination Chamber, that was, you know, being a Shawn Michaels fan, I'm glad he won. But looking at the rest of that card too, you had Eddie and Chavo defeat in a triple threat, Edge and Ray and Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit. You had Brock and the Big Show go at it, where Heyman turned on Brock, I think it was that night. Victoria and Trish was another good match. You know, Dudley's versus the Hardy, or no, I'm sorry. It was the Dudleys and Jeff Hardy defeating 3 Minute Warning in the tables match. I mean, you know, so yeah, overall, I mean, they're definitely putting out great matches back then. So yeah, that was definitely a good one. I like that. Joe?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We see your eyes.
Yeah, I'm on my computer, so it's up a little bit higher. So at least you can hear me now.
Yeah.
I remember my wife and I, we were sitting there watching it, and we were worried because it was something new. And at that point, Shawn just came back in August and wrestled, and I knew that Shawn was out for like 5 years or whatever it was with that back injury.
Yeah.
And I remember as a fan, I legitimately feared for Shawn because of the way the structure of the cage was at the time and the bumps that he was taking, that I just couldn't fathom that he would be involved in something like that, being that pretty much his wrestling career was over with up until returning. So I feared for him. I knew I'd just seen something not too long ago where they were talking and they're showing behind the stage footage, and Triple H and Booker T were just sitting there in the chairs as the structure was coming down, and Booker T made that comment, if somebody's going to get hurt tonight, And in actuality, somebody did. It was Triple H getting hurt because nobody knew. And you could see RVD was practicing his move, and he kept saying there wasn't enough height, but he thought he could pull it off. And so it was new and innovative, and we learned a lot of things from it, how they need to fix it over the course of years to make it a little more safe for everybody. But for those first couple of chambers before they figured it out, God bless those guys for still being able to wrestle or even be able to walk and talk, because those things were absolutely brutal. But I thought it was great because it was something brand new, and that's what we're kind of missing in today's wrestling. Everything's been done, and we're getting ready to have another elimination chamber. The only thing cool about this elimination chamber coming up now, I believe it's the first one with the women.
No,
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 they
it
had the
was
women's tag match for the titles in Elimination Chamber.
yeah, but
Okay,
it was
so
back in
all right, so we've only had a couple of, so
Yeah.
there's not too many new innovative things that are coming out that is all expired, end all be all that I want to see. But I remember ordering the pay-per-view just to see this elimination chamber, and it didn't disappoint. The whole card didn't disappoint. I mean,
No.
the other big shock was Paul Heyman turning on Brock, and go figure, we just seen that again at the Royal Rumble. So history repeats itself.
Yep. Chris, how about you?
No, I think it was 2017 that it was the first all women's elimination chamber match.
Yeah.
But no, I think I've watched that Ruthless Aggression documentary that they do,
Mm-hmm.
and they're talking about this elimination chamber matchup and how everybody was, like you guys said, afraid to wrestle in this match because it's something new and they didn't know how to figure it out basically. And now we have it pretty much as a pay-per-view. They've done it in other events, but we've only had the pay-per-view style for a few years.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think kind of excited for the upcoming Elimination Chamber because it's going to be over in Saudi Arabia. So it's kind of be interesting to see how they react, how it's held over there. So moving on, Jeff Hardy is our wrestler of the week. So we're going to talk about his career, future plans, possibly missed opportunities. So Will, why don't you start us off on that?
Yeah, so I'll be totally honest. For a long, 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 long time, I was never a Jeff Hardy fan in the ring, and I didn't really start liking Jeff until really late in his career, and then I had the opportunity to meet him multiple times and do some signings with him and stuff like that. So, after really getting to talk to him and look at everything, I went back and I looked at a lot of his career and a lot of his matches, and there's just so many great moments that are so underwhelming, or at least were put out there as underwhelming. 2 times he was world heavyweight champion with the big gold belt. He was also WWE champion. And if you look back in history, his runs were extremely short. And they really shouldn't have been, because he was so over with the fans. He was selling merchandise. He was putting butts in the seats, as they say.
Yep.
He was doing so many great things. And the guy could really carry a world championship and be believable. Some of his greatest matches were against Triple H. And I think that those matches are extremely overlooked. He also had some good matches against CM Punk in WWE, and I would highly recommend going back and looking at that end of 08, early 09, 2010 era and watch some of those matches. Definitely some huge missed opportunities with Jeff. 2017, he comes back. He's a surprise entrance with Matt Hardy at WrestleMania 33 in Orlando. I was actually there in attendance when it happened.
Nice.
They win the tag titles, and it's a humongous moment. But unfortunately, they don't capitalize on it, and these two guys' runs really kind of fade out quickly. Especially Matt Hardy's. He kind of goes on to be the lawnmower man and this whole delete thing, and just kind of filters out. And it's really sad where those two could be up there in the league of the Legion of Doom. I think for most long-term fans, everyone considers, at least as far as I know, and we can debate this or argue it or whatever, but I think most real true wrestling fans over the past 40 years would say the Legion of Doom is the greatest tag team of all time. Now, I think you could argue the Steiners. I think you could argue a couple others in there too, Tully and Arn maybe, and maybe Hart Foundation, Bulldogs, all that stuff. But when it really comes down to it, the Legion of Doom were tag champs everywhere. They were intimidating. They were believable badasses. And ultimately, in my opinion, greatest tag team of all time. So I think you could put the Hardys in the same conversation with those guys. Maybe not the greatest, but in the top greatest. Maybe the top 5. And when you're talking over a 40, 45-year period, maybe even a little longer with those guys, and you got the Hardy brothers in there as a top tag team of all time, that's tremendous. So bringing them back at WrestleMania 33, 2017, huge missed opportunity. They could have really pushed Jeff to be a world champion. They could have pushed Matt to be either Intercontinental champion, U.S. champion, whatever it may have been, as a working class champion, and a lot of opportunities there. Going forward, I definitely know Jeff will land on his feet and he'll do more, and he'll end up probably most likely in AEW, and he'll be the AEW champion before he retires. Personally talking to Jeff, probably a little more than a year ago, Jeff said that he wanted to end his career in AEW tagging with his brother. And, I think that's probably what's meant to be, will happen there. But I wouldn't rule out an AEW World Championship title reign for Jeff Hardy at all. The guy's a believable world champion. And another thing, too, all of the news is coming out now about his drug tests all coming back clean. And it's also coming out now, the reason he said no to the Hall of Fame honor was because they only wanted to recognize him and not him and Jeff as the Hardy Boys. So, absolutely, the guy has so much character that he wouldn't accept what is truly the greatest honor in wrestling, even though a lot of people say that's not a real Hall of Fame, it's all predetermined, blah, blah. Look, man, it could be the Hall of Fame of newspaper boys. You could be a newspaper boy riding a bicycle around town throwing newspapers. If somebody wants to put you in a Hall of Fame, to you and to anybody that supports it, that's a real Hall of Fame. And just because, match outcomes are predetermined doesn't take away from the nights that you spend on the road, away from your family, 300 nights on the road, hotel after hotel, car ride after car ride. Trying to travel like that and live a life like that, and the dedication that you have to put in and the time that you're putting in and contributing, that Hall of Fame to me is just as real as Canton. And anybody can argue that. I get it. Football players, they played 16 games a year, most of them, then they went home for 8 and 9 months. And they got tackled, they got beat around, all that stuff. I get it. That's a tough sport. But wrestlers got thrown off the top rope onto the concrete floor, onto the steel guardrail, suplex to the mat, every single night, 300 nights a year with no end in sight. So, just because the outcome is predetermined doesn't make the sport part of it or the physical performance part of it any less. So that Hall of Fame to me and any wrestling fan is absolutely legitimate. My favorite match with Jeff Hardy, there's quite a few, but I think my favorite would be when he won the World Championship from Triple H, the WWE Championship. I think that's probably my favorite match.
All right. How about you, Joe? What's your thoughts on Jeff Hardy and what Will said?
Oh my gosh, man! Will is on fire tonight, dude.
Sorry.
Rest. Then I gotta follow that. Holy freaking cow, man! Wow. Jeez, he is full of it. I don't know. I'm like Will. I've been watching, wrestling since like 1986, and so I've seen so many great tag teams come through the history. Rock and Roll Express, the Road Warriors, Midnight Express, Demolition, Brainbusters, or the Horsemen, however you want to look at it, the Steiner brothers. I mean, so I have been privileged to see some great tag team wrestling throughout the years. Hardy, he's on my bucket list. I still want to meet the freaking guy. I have been to TNA shows in Tampa, and they had an injury angle for him, and he was coming back. They taped like 4 weeks worth of shows. It was during Hogan's birthday, and he was coming back at their pay-per-view coming up, so I just missed him then. I was supposed to see him at WrestleMania 24. He gets busted for drugs. So I've missed my opportunity to meet this guy. And so I'm bound and determined to see a match of his at some point in time, hopefully, and be able to meet him. But missed opportunities, I think, with Jeff, he's had his problems. And I know that it's been well documented that Triple H wasn't a big fan of him. Triple H was not a fan of putting the WWE Championship on him at the time that they did because of his problems. And there was a podcast that Freddie Prinze Jr. does, and he said when he was writing, he pushed for Jeff to have the championship, and he talked to Michael Hayes about it. Michael Hayes is like, well, depends on what those boys want. And then Freddie Prinze went out into the catering area or whatever, and sitting next to Michael Hayes, and he sees Triple H comes out and slams the door type thing, and well, long and behold, Jeff got the championship, but then he got himself in a little bit of trouble. So Freddie Prinze even said Triple H was right. We probably shouldn't have put the championship on him, but I think he's a believable champion. It's somebody that
Great comment there.
That's my gosh, man. But he is a believable character. I applaud him for what he did this last time with leaving, and he wanted his results for his test to show that he didn't do anything. And it come to find out, I'm pretty sure that it shows that he didn't have any drugs in his system, as Matt has said. So, a stand-up guy. I wish him nothing but the best, and I know he's going to land on his feet, like Will said. He's probably going to end up in AEW, and that's probably the best place for him.
Yeah. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where he's going to end up. Maybe it's going to be AEW. That's probably the most likely spot for him to be, but I think he's going to do good things coming up, and I think at one point he'll be in the Hall of Fame or some point.
Yeah, for me, I mean, Will, you talked about greatest tag teams. They're up there, no doubt about that. I mean, they're high flying. They've TLC matches with the Dudleys and Edge and Christian, holding titles. For me, though, I do believe he's a believable champion, and I think Impact is where that showed. I mean, for the short time that he had the title there, and then coming back to WWE with his brother was amazing watching WrestleMania, and I saw that home here. I just could imagine what the crowd noise was there when they came out.
It was the loudest pop of the night, and let me put it into perspective, Big B. And yes,
Yeah.
I just cut you off again. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Let me put it into perspective. WrestleMania 33 saw John Cena wrestle with Nikki against Miz, and he also proposed to Nikki in the ring. So that was a pop. And then you had Naomi, who's from Orlando, come back and win the SmackDown Women's Championship that night in the ring. That was a pop. You had Roman Reigns defeat The Undertaker and what would be the last Undertaker's full WrestleMania match.
Yep.
And you had The Undertaker leave his gear in the ring and walk down the aisle slowly and throw his hand up in the air, basically signifying that his career was over. And that wasn't as loud of a pop as Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy got that night. And I can verify that because I was there amongst the 80,000 people. So just to put into perspective what it was truly like, think about the things that I just told you happened that night, especially with The Undertaker. There were men there were men my age and your age crying, sobbing, boohooing, crying when the Undertaker left his gear in the ring. It was such an emotional moment. It was a very sad moment, and that wasn't as much of a pop as Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy got that night. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, Taker leaving his gear in there was
Mhm.
a big moment. But yeah, for me, I mean, Hardy definitely has got talent. He will land on his feet, like you guys said. Most likely AEW. Maybe go back to Impact. I don't know. But him not going into the Hall of Fame 100% had to do with him and Matt not going in together. Guarantee it. You know, because how can you not put them both in, you know? But missed opportunities, I think they had. I really think they missed a feud with, you know, some kind of him and Bray Wyatt feud with the Fiend. You know, they could have done the double. You know, both of them had different personalities. Willow could have came out, and they could have done that with the Fiend or Finn Balor too. And you know, I don't know. I think they just missed some things. And like you said, Will, it didn't sound like Triple H was a big fan of his, so that could have stopped him. And all his prior convictions, that could hurt. But I definitely think he could definitely be a champion, and you know, maybe AEW is where we're going to see it at. So,
I agree.
I think Jemias is right there. He has a question. He says, will we see Jeff as Jeff, or will we see him as Brother Nero, or Will? I think if he goes to AEW, I think we can see all three formations of it. We can see a new Faces of Foley type thing with his character.
Yeah, but the thing is, you know, and it makes sense. But the deleted Matt Hardy's deleted character never really took off. You know, I don't know if they really pushed it, but
I
They didn't
just
he
really
saw
never
have
that
took
a crowd
off.
on.
either too much either when that was going
Yeah.
on. COVID hit, and that kind of ruined it a little bit.
Yeah.
For him. So I think if right
Didn't
scenario
Matt
worked out,
Hardy
it could work out good.
didn't
Go
Matt
ahead.
Hardy do it too?
Well,
I just
he
saw
kind of
that.
spun off Willow and Impact a little bit to start his feud with Jeff, but you know, I don't know. I think we'll see Jeff as Jeff, but it would not surprise me if we see him bring out the Willow character because I know he wanted to do that in WWE. So, well, what do you think?
I think there's a possibility, but I also think, you know, it's kind of towards the end of his run. And I think most likely you're going to see him as Jeff Hardy teaming up with Matt. And, you know, Matt's got the whole big money Matt thing going. And, you know, it's just important for those guys. Those guys have been doing this for a very long time. You got to remember, Jeff Hardy started before he was legally allowed to start. The guy was wrestling in WWF at 16. So a lot of people may not know that, but the guy actually started at 16 wrestling in the World Wrestling Federation before it was even WWE. You know, so I mean, it's important now at their age that they do things together and with their family. And you know, their father passed away not long ago, and that really helped them, you know, become stronger together with their bond. From what I understand and from what I read, and I think that's tremendous. You know, so I definitely think you'll see a lot of Matt and Jeff. I do not rule out a world championship run for Jeff because I think that's huge. Matt to me was never as believable as a world champion.
No.
You know, he held that ECW world title for a little while, but he just was never believable to me as a world champion. I don't think he would be now, but he would be outstanding as a manager, valet type person in Jeff's corner if they would put him, in my opinion, in a Vinny Vegas type getup in a suit and put him out there as an enforcer for Jeff and let Jeff turn heel as a world champion and let him start beating everybody up. And then, you know, when he gets a little behind, he tosses him out of the ring to Matt, and Matt puts the boots to him. And, you know, I think there's some tremendous opportunity there. And, you know, especially for guys like MJF, what a great opportunity to turn that guy face, you know, by turning somebody that everybody loves so much as Jeff into a heel or a bad guy. I think there's some opportunity there.
Yeah. And just looking at Jeff's profile here.
Keep Jeff and Matt from wrestling one another because their WrestleMania match is horrible.
Yeah. And then I'm just looking at Jeff's profile page here on Wikipedia. I didn't know his middle name was Nero. I just noticed that. I'm just like, really? Okay, so, all right.
Daddy was a hippie, man.
I guess so. I guess. So, coming up here, got the Elimination Chamber. So, who's everybody's predictions for the men and the women's elimination chamber? Joe, I'll start with you.
Man, I called the Rumble, guys. I told you, man. I'm like 1-0 right now.
Blah 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 blah.
Told you. I
It
told
would
you
have been
Goldberg was
different if
coming
Shane.
back
It
too,
would have been
man.
different if Shane
It
wouldn't have got his fingers on
took Goldberg a little bit to get back in there, but he forgot about the Rumble. But he's in the chamber.
He forgot the Rumble.
He's going to Saudi Arabia. So I told you, Goldberg, man. I don't know, guys. We all know it's going to be Lesnar and Roman at WrestleMania. Either A, we're going to get title for title, which MVP dropped in a promo. And if you caught Paul Heyman's promo last week, Paul Heyman slipped it in there a little bit. That was an underlining Easter egg there. So,
Yep.
do I want to see title for title? I don't know. They got to do something though, because this belt swapping crap has got to stop. These titles mean less and less. I know that, you know, you write for whoever to win and lose and so on and so forth, but I'm almost starting to see the late 90s version when you've seen the Intercontinental title swap hands every friggin' week. I mean,
Yep.
it was like a who's who. Same thing with the WWE Championship back in the day. You had Triple H and Chris Jericho and this and that. And it's like, Roman is a believable champion right now. I hate to say it, but he is. He's got to win Wrestler of the Year, no doubt about it, in my opinion. And right now, I don't think he can be stopped. But if anybody can do it, it's going to be Lesnar. I just don't. I don't know. Because right now I don't even know who they could put in the ring with Bobby right now, because they're not really pushing Bobby at this point as a
AJ Styles.
There you go. Him or KO, man. KO this past week, if you watched Raw, that guy, he went from a heel to a face, a heel to a face again. I'm like, he's like Big Show all over every week. Freaking heel face. I don't know what to do with this guy, but I love Kevin Owens.
I do
So either AJ, I love AJ too. And AJ having to put over almost, man, he deserves a world title run and a raise on top of that. So I go with AJ pulling it out.
AJ, okay.
Side, it's going to be Bianca Belair, and I so wish it was Liv Morgan winning it because she deserves it. But WWE isn't going to give us what they want. They didn't give us anything that we wanted with the Lesnar Lashley match. So,
Well, even the Royal Rumble itself was just BS. So, Chris, how about you? What do you think for Elimination Chamber, men and women's?
On the men's side, I'm thinking it's gonna be Brock Lesnar because I've been saying it for a while. It's gonna be a title versus title match at Mania. I think I've said it. I think it's day one. I thought, but
Yeah.
I think it's gonna happen. So Brock Lesnar is gonna win on the men's side. On the women, I'm thinking it's gonna be Liv Morgan to set up another rematch with Becky Lynch for WrestleMania. And I'm thinking Asuka's going to be the mystery competitor.
Oh, that's a good one. Will, how about you? What you got for predicting Elimination Chamber?
Man, I'll tell you this before I say anything else. I'll tell you this. You know, last year during some of the pay-per-views, I'm gonna be real honest. There's a lot of them I skipped, but I watched the Rumble, and I'm gonna watch Elimination Chamber because they've got my interest right now with what they're doing. I will tell you for the women, it's going to be Liv, in my opinion. Liv is going to win it, and they're going to go on to put her against Becky at WrestleMania. Now, whether or not she'll beat Becky at WrestleMania, I don't know, or if it'll be clean, I don't know. Personally, I'd like to see Doudrop pull out a victory and go on and actually become a heel and go over, because I think there's some real potential there with her. She could be a devastating female force if they would let her. She's intimidating. She's menacing. She's got size to her. She reminds me of mid-90s WWF Bertha Faye. Mid-90s WWF Bertha Faye. She reminds me of that. And if you remember, Bertha Faye beat Alundra Blaze for the Women's Championship and took it for a little while. And I think that there's some possibility there for her to be champion. So for the men, I think it's going to be AJ Styles. I think there's a reason they busted up Omos and AJ, and I think AJ can have a good run with Lashley. I think he can have a good run with Omos. I think he can have a good run with just about anybody they put him in the ring with. Ultimately, I think Kevin Owens will take it from AJ eventually at some point, but I think AJ gets another title run, and I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, for me, I think any guy in that Rumble or in the Elimination Chamber can walk away with it and do something with it. I know there's been
You're saying
room.
Austin Theory can walk away with the championship?
I think Austin Theory could be an up and coming guy. I think. I
Or
mean, I
Matt
don't think
Riddle?
he's top choice, but I mean, I really hope we don't have title for title at Mania. So I really hope
It's-
Brock doesn't walk away with it.
I
I'm
don't.
with you guys a little bit. I'd like to see AJ get a run. I think he definitely could do some stuff with the title, like Will said. Have some great matches. I mean, if you believe the rumors with the Rumble that Matt Riddle was supposed to win it, if you believe what Matt Riddle said on his Twitter page, he had no idea. So, I mean, Matt Riddle could walk away. I don't know how believable that would be, but I'm with you. I think AJ Styles could get it on the women's side. I think we all want to see Liv do it, but I'm with Will. I kind of want to see Doudrop, because he made that comparison and that just clicked in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, that does. Will, you got some knowledge up there, man. I forgot all about her too, and until you said it, but yeah, I definitely see Doudrop could definitely be that mean heel,
Right.
person for the women.
The reason I think it'll be Liv is because remember all the tickets they got to sell for WrestleMania in that big old stadium for 2 nights? That's why I think it'll be Liv. But I would love to see Doudrop.
Yeah, I hope it's Liv too. And yeah, we know, Chris, you're in WrestleMania. I mean, that's the biggest thing you guys are going to get to the Super Bowl. So you might as well enjoy it while you can. So
Yeah.
That was a cruel comment.
It was. But it's true.
Well, at
It's a bit more
least
exciting
I
than
didn't
that
say
playoff
that they were going to hold the Super Bowl there every year, so the home team doesn't get to the Super Bowl because Dallas can't get to one. So
That was a cruel comment.
So anyway, moving on, some interesting storylines we have going. KO, Lashley, Roman. What do you guys think? Is there something else that's interesting? Joe, we'll start with you. What do you think? What do you think WWE's working towards here?
I just read something where they're 53 days out. Either that was today or yesterday. And WrestleMania is not set yet, which is not a good thing because usually by now Vince is pretty well sure on everything that they're doing right now. And right now everything's up in a uproar, so to speak.
Yep.
Starting with the Shane McMahon thing, because Shane wanted talking about having a match with Austin Theory, then he was going to have a match with Rollins. I feel bad for Rollins because he was supposed to win the championship. He was supposed to be the Mania championship. That poor guy's getting bounced around a little bit too. I mean, at the Rumble when he came out as a Shield, I thought that was cool. Everybody popped for him. The next week he goes back to be freaking Seth Rollins again, and everybody's booing him. It's like there's another guy that keeps bouncing back and forth between good guy and bad guy. They don't know what to do with that poor man. I don't know. And, I love WrestleMania no matter what. I'm going to watch it as everybody does. I don't know what they're thinking, guys. I mean, it's such a mess up there for those.
I think all the workings are there for them to have the WrestleMania 36 main event they wanted before. The WrestleMania 36 main event, from what I recall, was supposed to be Goldberg, Reigns, Lesnar in a triple threat for the World Heavyweight Championship. And, it ended up being Goldberg ended up facing Strowman, and Lesnar faced McIntyre, and Reigns was out because COVID was rampant and he couldn't be in the crowds and all that stuff. And I think they're going to go back and they're going to reuse that old storyline. Just my opinion. Storyline wise, I think you see Goldberg in Saudi Arabia become Universal Champion again. Nobody really is seeing it coming. Everybody's thinking, what's the point? Reigns will destroy Goldberg. But I think there's a good potential for him to win that and go on to WrestleMania, and it'll end up being Reigns and Lesnar. And Lesnar doesn't have to go over at WrestleMania. It could very easily be Goldberg versus Lesnar versus Reigns. Goldberg goes in as champion. Reigns leaves as champion. That's very possible. There's nothing that says that, well, if Lesnar's in the main event, Lesnar has to win, because Lesnar has been in the main event at WrestleMania before against Roman Reigns and didn't leave with the World Championship.
No, I agree. Will, you're right. It's shocking that, the book is still open. Everything's in pencil right now still for WrestleMania. You're 50-some days away, and you don't know what you're going to do yet. Not sound like it's going to be a good WrestleMania. Matches might be good, but, that's where you get a lot of
I
the
hope they have a
botch moves.
backup plan, in case COVID hits with these guys and they get sick. I think that plays a part in it too. So
I heard that the championship matches, whoever it's going to be, that's going to be set. That's what I heard.
I think we get Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn at WrestleMania.
After that incident they had at the red carpet.
Who knows? Anything's possible.
You're going to need some attraction matches to draw people.
Where's David Arquette these days? Where's he at?
Yeah.
If I was David Arquette, I'd be pissed off right now. I'd be like, dude, I was the WCW champion. I deserve to be.
Where's David Arquette these days? We need a champion.
Yeah. He's still supposedly doing the wrestling thing too.
Throw Bad Bunny in there. Let's do a fatal 4-way. Let's go for it.
Hey, I heard he has a part-time contract.
But yeah, I don't know. I like the Roman Reigns character. The way they're going. With the bloodline and stuff. It's got to end though. Hopefully it ends at Saudi.
Too.
What's that?
I said supposedly they're setting him and Drew up again too, but in order for Drew to be a legitimate contender to Roman, they got to build Drew back up, because Drew's fallen down so far that, to me, he's not a believable character like he was 2 years ago going into WrestleMania against Lesnar.
No, and that's right. Right now, tomorrow, SmackDown's Friday. Friday, they could throw a whole bunch of curves at us. Monday Night Raw, they could throw a whole bunch of curves at us. I think.
Who would have been main event this year if they hadn't have wasted him?
Who?
Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
Oh, I think they had big plans for him, and whatever falling out they had with Bray Wyatt, I don't know. There's a lot of missed opportunities with Bray Wyatt, I think. And of course everybody's still climbing for Rock and Roman to show up, and it's just that's not going to happen. I think that
we get 2 nights of R-Truth chasing around trying to get his 24/7 championship.
Yeah, maybe we see Gronk. Who knows? But
did I come out of the crowd and tap?
Gronk's got to come back to Tampa one more year. We got to do something. We got to finish that out right.
Yeah, but
Russ, I think Gronk's done.
Yeah.
He'll come back to.
But yeah, so going into WrestleMania season, I'm not hyped for the program yet, because I don't know what's going to happen. So it's more like just kind of wait and see, and hopefully. There you go, Gronk. Yeah, I wish I would have got that figure.
Yeah, I got that same one too.
I love that figure.
Yeah,
I got one in the case and one out of the case, and when my wife goes, "Oh, Gronk's so hot," I go over there and freaking let Hogan give him a leg drop about 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Vader bombing.
So
I'm the same way, Ben. As a fan, I'm going to watch WrestleMania always.
Oh, I'm going to watch WrestleMania too.
But
and
I'm always excited for it. But yeah, I agree. I'm not excited. I'm excited to see Charlotte and Ronda go at it a little bit there. But as far as everything else, I've seen Roman and Lesnar fight so many times. Give me something new. I don't want to see Riddle versus Orton for the championship, because I just don't like Riddle being the champion. I don't think he's a believable champion right now.
I think they'll have a match, just a regular match at
But-
Mania.
But the
what
thing
can
is,
you put on WrestleMania that hasn't already been done?
yeah,
That's the biggest.
especially on the men's
That's
side.
what we
The
talked
women's
about.
side,
Chamber.
I mean, the women's side, you could probably set up a lot of things to be different. But the men's side, they seem like they just want to keep running.
Well, they can't even have an NXT Women's Tag Team Tournament right now because they ain't got enough women for it. As you've
Yeah.
seen, that they haven't even been able to start that tournament yet. So how
Yeah.
can you even have a women's match at WrestleMania when you don't even have women for it? You got to bring back 60 legends, part timers,
Yeah.
to put a Rumble together for 30 women.
Yep.
You
No,
know,
that was a comment earlier. So
that's another thing too. They've dropped the ball in the women's division.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
and after Rumble happened, I know we're a couple weeks away, and I wasn't here last week. There's a lot of people bashing the Rumble, and then there's people like, well, if you're bashing it, then you shouldn't be watching. It's like, no, wait a minute. Just because I'm upset with how the results happened doesn't mean I don't enjoy what happened. I mean,
A
to me,
lot
the
of them
men-
were upset too because there was no surprises because everybody's been instilled in their brain that you got to have 6 or 7 legends come back. You got to have all these big surprises come back. But what about the men and women that's been busting their
Yeah.
butt every day for the past couple of years or through the year? That's the whole point for them to get to wrestling, into the Rumble.
You sound like CM Punk.
I
But
like
the
CM
thing,
Punk.
the
I
thing
just think he sucks right now,
is,
too.
to me, going into the men's Royal Rumble, I thought it was a plus card, a at the most. And then when the Rumble hit, I was kind of disappointed that there was not any big names in there, surprise wise. But I mean, the match itself just seemed, just out of whack. And reading that it got changed 20 times, I can understand why. But after the Rumble, it's just like, okay, B minus, C plus, overall. I really didn't want Brock to win, but I kind of figured he was after his match. So, it is what it
Well,
is.
Shane had his way. Seth Rollins, after that massive beatdown that he got against Roman, would have been in the Rumble because that's what Shane wanted.
I
Yeah.
love that.
And then I
that.
heard,
I loved it when Roman beat Seth stupid with that chair. That was the best part of the night.
Don't
We'll
let
make Will happier
you
because
say
the
that.
leader giving Disco Inferno 15 power bombs.
That's right.
Yeah, don't let Ace hear you that you liked this guy getting beat down. So,
No, Summer Rae is not a legend.
Yeah, what was that when she popped up? Oh, Legend Summer Rae. It's like, what did she do? Yeah, that threw me off too. But
Well, because the WWE had on their when they showed her, they had
Yeah.
a WWE legend on there. So somebody in the back made a stupid mistake, and the fans had fun with it. But
no, but
that's like trying to make Eva Marie a legend.
but they didn't want to put former wrestler in the title. They wanted to say legend.
No. So, what about you, Chris? Going into WrestleMania season and all these interesting storylines we got going, what do you see happening?
I know they're trying to do something with Alexa. I know they're trying to build her back up, for a return, and maybe she'll come back, some capacity for WrestleMania. I know she's kind of hosted it once, or maybe a couple times, but I know once before, and maybe they'll do something like that, and then have her involved in a match abruptly, and I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's all up in there. Well, I got a question, Chris. You're on Between the Ropes, so you kind of heard my question earlier, or comparison, I guess. Aaliyah, this 317, is this going to be the women's version of the 316?
I think so.
God, I hope
I
not.
mean, I hope not either, but I think they're kind of pushing it that way.
I know they are, but I don't know. I see Will and Joe shaking their heads. I hope not, but I can see WWE doing this and being, that's her model now, 317.
Even if they try it, the fans will shut that down so fast because they won't buy into it that it'll end quicker than it starts.
There is no.
Well, we
woman
hope.
out there
I mean,
right now that could be a Stone Cold version right now that I think in this PG era that they have going on. And Aaliyah 317. Hey, if she's got the opportunity to run with it right now, make as much money as you possibly can off of it. But no, it's not going.
Yeah.
Not the new 360.
No,
There's only
right
one.
now,
You can't
Ronda Rousey's probably your closest Stone Cold type character, you know. But
yeah,
I
there's
absolutely
only
agree
one
with that. I
Stone
think
Cold,
that's a
there's only
great
one Austin
point.
316.
That's a great point, Big B. I absolutely agree with that because when her music hits, it's almost like, oh, you got to pay attention because you know she's coming out. So I absolutely
yeah,
agree.
she's
And
got.
also,
I think she's got to kind of change her music though. That kind of just every time it hits, it doesn't fit her character. I don't think.
also
Her
too,
music
I
hits,
think
I gotta go to the bathroom for some reason.
every time Becky comes out too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, I'm not big on those Becky outfits though. She's starting to look more and more like Seth every week.
I mean,
Those crazy ass outfits that she's got going on. I think she's trying to get as many action figures as she possibly can.
why not?
well, that's
I mean,
what
we
sells.
brought
Sell
up.
merchandise,
Well, that's
right?
true.
I was gonna say we
That's
brought
true.
that
That's
up
what Oregon
earlier.
said.
You
He
got
said, I
to
was
sell
tired of
your.
not getting an action figure. I got to start changing my gear up a little bit.
Yeah.
Jemias made a comment too. He said, "Is it just me, or is Natty looking less and less like herself and more plastic?" I agree with that too.
Flair,
Definitely a
Charlotte's
lot
the same
more.
one. Right?
Yeah,
What's ever gonna come up of? I know you're probably gonna change his name, but Elias.
Her upper body muscle is not muscle. That's for sure.
What'd you say
Elias.
about Elias? Oh, when he
When
come back?
it's gonna pop up,
I don't
I know under
know.
a different name, but
I think the Elias ship has sailed.
Yep, I
well,
think
yeah, but
him
He
not being
he,
around.
he sailed over to that island of future endeavors. He just doesn't know it yet.
He's going to be that first WrestleMania cut. What are you doing over there, Big B? You having seizures going on over there?
No, my son's not listening.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Elias, that's another wasted talent, too. That
yeah,
lucky enough, we can understand the word lip syncing over there. He's like,
Yeah.
boy, I'm going to come over there and I'm going to stun you right now. Don't make me.
All right, guys, we got 60 seconds to wrap up.
yeah.
All right, guys. Yeah, well, so why don't you take us into the wrap up here? So let's wrap it up.
So, first of all, huge shout out to Top Rope Collectibles supporting me, helping everything continue to grow. We just started a public page a couple weeks ago. We've been running on our live public page and sharing it into the groups. We shared it into TRC. We shared it into Between the Ropes, Coast to Coast, everywhere. We're continuing to grow. We're continuing to get viewers and followers and members, and you know, just some awesome stuff happening over there for us. Over at Coast to Coast, man, you know, I stumbled on Coast to Coast one night just by pure accident. I happened to see it. I loved it. Between the Ropes. If you guys are not watching Between the Ropes at midnight on Sunday nights, which for me, I would be on that every week doing it live. But Sunday nights, I usually have my live sale, and I'm trying to clean up and invoice and wrap up stuff. And so it's just a killer for me. But if you guys aren't checking that out, you're missing out. And there's so many other great shows, so many other great things these guys got going on over here. Humongous shout out to Big B. I'm glad you're back, man. I tell you, I think you and I, you know, no matter what, I think we complement each other when we talk, and I think it really works out well. Missed Ace tonight. I missed the Dragon Viper. Hope to see you guys back really soon. Hope you guys are doing really well. Huge shout out to Crispy Bacon. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff because none of us know how to do it. He's the smart one. So, and then of course, you know, Joe over here. Appreciate you being on here, Joe, as always. Guys, definitely check out Coast to Coast Entertainment Network, Top Rope Collectibles, the Tag Team Champs Wrestling Collectibles public page. A lot of stuff, great stuff going on, and you just never know what you're going to see. You never know what you're going to hear, and it's just so much fun. I always enjoy it. Every once in a while, we miss a week because you know we have lives and we have families and all that stuff. But we love being here. We love talking to everybody. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you.
All right, thanks. Well, Joe, what you got to say? I know you love following Will after those nice promos he cuts.
I know. He freaking on fire tonight, dude. I'm so proud of him. It's like a little, brings tear to my eye. I enjoy it, guys. As always, I know we don't get on there as much as we do sometimes. The world's crazy, but when we do, we get to have fun and play around and talk about pro wrestling. But we got a great week this week. You guys got some great shows coming up. We got a Super Bowl this week, I think the Rams will take that one. But I am more excited about seeing the halftime show for the first time in a long time, man. I'm ready to relive some of my youth years. I'm getting
Yeah.
down with some Snoop Doggy.
All right.
That's Little Moses Smoke over there right there. I'm ready for some Dr. Dre,
Wait.
man. I'm ready for Chronic, boy.
Wait, you mean you weren't blinded by the light last year?
Oh, my God, man.
That was
Between, hearing that and going to WrestleMania last year and then playing the weekend song every 4 to 5 minutes when it was commercial break on TV for you guys, I am so weekend out. And I didn't even really listen to that music anymore, so I didn't even really know who the Weeknd was. So
yeah. So how about you?
I'm ready. I'm ready for some Chronic, man. I am ready for some Matt Riddle Chronic this weekend.
Yeah. All right, Chris. How about you? What do you got going on?
Yeah, I know. Tomorrow we're gonna have a USA men's hockey official tomorrow on Sports Minute, and then all of our other shows coming up. But also Sunday, on Sunday we're gonna have our football pregame, the morning tailgate, and then we're also gonna have a Super Bowl special on Sunday, a couple hours before the game. So tune in for that.
All right. Yeah, so keep checking us out. Check out Top Rope Collectibles with Will and his crew. Check out Coast to Coast. Got a lot going on this week, and check us out tomorrow, like Chris said. Thursday, kicking it with Isaiah. Then Sunday morning tailgate, preview the Super Bowl, and our special Super Bowl show on Sunday. So, with that being said, guys, you guys have a good week.
Big P.
Yeah, what's up, bud?
You guys talk so much. You guys made us 4 minutes late getting off here.
Yeah, we talk about it. All right, guys, have a good one, and we'll see you next week for Tuesday Night Mania.